Welcome to Mission 3, Lesson 26. Our objective or goal today is I can match and count to compare two sets of objects. State which quantity is less. In Lesson 25, we talked about how to organize our counting and comparing when we had groups of things. What do you remember about that? Go ahead and pause the video and discuss that with a learning partner at your home. Some things you may have said is that we lined them up, we counted them, we matched them, and all of those things are correct. With these objects, I've put them in a line, and so I'm going to draw lines to compare. For one circle, I have a square. For this circle, I have a square. This circle, I have a square. This circle, I have a square. And this circle, I have a square. So what do I have more of, circles or squares? Very good. Just by looking at our model here, we can tell that we have more squares. If we count our circles, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we count our squares, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So our model told us that we had more squares than circles, but we also could tell that by counting them or by matching them. We're going to work on more of this today. Look at the shapes on the board or on my screen. How can we quickly find out if there are more circles or squares? So let's look at these shapes. We have a square and circles. We have a bunch of shapes there. So what's the first thing I could do? Very good. I can remove the shapes we don't need. So let's delete those out. If you had these shapes, we would just say remove them from your board. But for computer sakes, we're going to delete them out. Do you see any other shapes we don't need? Very good. This is a six-sided figure, so we're going to remove this hexagon. Now, are we only left with circles and squares? Yes, we are. So let's go ahead, and we talked about some of those things that we can do to make this easy and organized. So what should we do? Very good. Let's put them into rows. So I'm going to drag my squares into a row. Or you could have done a column, like we can do rows, which are side to side, or you could have done columns like we did on our first picture, which was up and down. Just some way to organize so you can see. So I'm pulling all of my squares together. And now for every square, I want to try to add a circle. Let's see. So when we first started, our picture was very jumbled. We had a lot on here. We had some extra shapes we didn't need. We had circles, we had squares, we had them everywhere. But look, now that we've made these nice, neat rows, even without counting, we can tell what we have more of. Do we have more circles or do we have more squares? We have more circles. And if we wanted to talk about what we have fewer of, what do we have fewer of, circles or squares? We have fewer squares. Very good. So let's count and just see how many less. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So looking at this picture, if we have 8 squares, we know that we're at 8 here. We could count one more and we have how many circles? 9. And we know that 8 is less than 9. So are there more circles or are there more squares? Very good. There's more circles. Here's another model that we have. When we're looking at these, we already have our squares and our circles lined up for this one, but does it matter which shape is bigger if I'm just trying to see which one has more or which one has less? It doesn't. So let's see. Look at our picture. Do we have more squares or do we have more circles? It looks like we have more circles, but let's line them up just to make sure. To make sure we don't double count anything or our picture didn't get off. So what do we have fewer of, squares or circles? We have fewer squares. And if we wanted to say it differently, what do we have more of? Squares or circles? We have more circles. So let's count these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we know that we have 8 squares that match our circles. How many more circles do we have? So we could start with 8 and then count up. 9, 10. So we had 8 squares, 10 circles. So there are fewer squares than circles. Now let's compare these right here. We have smiley faces and hearts. So now I'm going to line them up and down. And if you want to hear a big kid word for up and down, we call that columns. When we arrange things up and down like this, we arrange them into columns. When we arrange them side to side, we arrange them into rows. So I'm taking my jumbled up smiley faces and I'm putting them into a, what's that big kid word? Not up and down. A column. Very good. Now I want to take my hearts, and for each smiley face, I want to give it a heart. And I'm also arranging these hearts in a column. Very good. So just looking at the picture, do you have more smiley faces or more hearts? It looks like you have more smiley faces, but let's draw a line to make sure that for every smiley, I have a heart, that I've organized those well. And I do. So how many hearts did I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, if I have 6 hearts, how many smileys do I have? This is 6, so 7. 7 is more than 6. Or we could say 6 is less than 7. Let's try another one. This time we're comparing the sun and the moon. Let's take these into columns. And remember, columns are up and down because right now they're kind of scattered out. They're hard to compare. And we want to see which one is more. So moving them. Let's check our moon. All right, so which one appears to be more? Which one looks more just by looking at our columns? The moon, right? But let's match and make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are more moons in this picture. How many suns do we have? Very good. We had 4. If we have 4 moons, we go from 4 to 5. So we have 5 suns. 4 is less than 5. 5 is more than 4. Without using a picture on my board, I want you to talk to someone at your home. Which number is less, 10 or 8? Go ahead and pause the video while you talk to someone at your home and decide if 10 or 8 is less. If you need to draw a picture, you can. You should have said that 8 is less than 10. Let's draw a quick picture to show that. So we need to represent 10. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if we get to 8, we know we have to keep going. 9, 10. So that showed me right there that 8 is less than, let me move that 8 up. That 8 is less than 10. So we have that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then make sure our dots didn't get off. I'm going to connect them. So we have 1 there, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. And this shows us that 8 is less than 10.